Alrighty, the next topic on our agenda is our National Academy. Anthony Richardson is going to speak about pathways and what the National Academy does. And Richo, here you go. Do you need your own?
Thanks very much, everyone, and I really appreciate everyone coming along tonight. This was a really difficult presentation for me to prepare for because the one thing that I will definitely say tonight is that everyone is different. And so when we're talking about the pathways, training and competition that your children will go on, everyone's journey is different. And at Wimbledon we had 7 players from our academy over there competing this year. And you know, when you think about the different journeys they've all been through, it's quite amazing. So we're here at an Australian ranking tournament, the Rod Laver, and obviously many of you may have experienced Super 10s, which for me is a great launching pad to the tennis journey where you have on-court coaching, team tennis. We love team tennis and hoping to grow more team tennis opportunities in the future. Regional level tournaments, our JDS circuits, are a really important part of the journey. And then we contested a state and national level in our Australian ranking tournaments. From here, you heard Mark mention earlier that the next step in the pathway is our ITF junior tournaments. So these are the events where you can establish a world junior ranking. So in Australia, we host various grades of these events, and again, players can build their ranking and try and ultimately contest junior Grand Slams if your ranking gets high enough. So I think the events this week are grade 4 events, and they go up through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then category A events, which are your Grand Slam tournaments. So those players who are doing well at a national level may look to challenge themselves at that next step in the ITF juniors. From a post-junior perspective, we have our Australian money tournaments and also the ITF World Tour. Now, this is a brand new part of the pathway this last 12 months. You may have heard a lot about this in the media. It was quite a controversial move, and there's certainly been a lot of teething issues in this first year where previously from juniors you could start contesting and playing for ATP and WTA ranking points straight up, and now there's an additional step in the process where you'll play for sort of transition tour points. So again, just something to be mindful of, and there's still a lot of change happening at that level of tournaments. So, but once you're out of juniors, that's sort of your next stop on the pathway before playing on the tour. Really important, I think, to always have a tournament schedule in place. Could I see a show of hands for anyone who sits down with their coach and maps out an annual tournament schedule? A few of us in the room. So I think it's definitely a worthy process to go through for a number of reasons. One is, you know, to start with your goals and work out a little bit where you want to be, whether it be 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, work backwards a little bit. So you have your goals in place, and that sort of is the starting point. And then you can work through your training priorities and your development needs. So, and that will really shape your tournament schedule, and that's where the coach can really guide that schedule, because at different times of the year you might want to be prioritising certain events, peaking at certain events, and at other times you will need time away from competition to actually grow your game and work on certain aspects. And then there are other times of the year too where you might play some tournaments, but you're actually training through those tournaments, and they're not really priority events. You're just really trying to get the matches, but you're also working on your game at the same time. So there's different phases in your tournament schedule. It's also a great process for your budgeting, and really important to work out what are priority events rather than just playing every single event that's available. You really can try and map out your year and work that way. Getting the right challenge point is critical. So if we're winning too much, we're not getting that chance to fail. I think failing's such an important part of tennis, and because you learn the areas where you might need to improve, and it's a big part of tennis. I was reading the other day, and the number 50 male player on the ATP rankings has lost more matches than he's won this year, and he's probably a millionaire. But in tennis, you lose more often than you win, and there's only one winner of a tournament each week. So the kids really need to learn how to go through that process, and getting that balance right in the early years is so important. So winning too much can be an issue because you're not getting that challenge. And then also, if you're putting them up all the time and playing those really strong tournaments all the time, they're not going to get that confidence. And they also need a chance to learn how to win and learn how to close out a match, learn how to beat a weaker player. In terms of the training pathway, obviously everyone has their private coach. There are different levels of qualifications with private coaches. So, it used to be level 1, level 2, level 3, but that is now a junior development coach, a club pro coach, or a high performance coach. So knowing their qualifications might give you some confidence into their level of experience. But as Lana touched on earlier, it's so important just to have that relationship and to have that confidence and that trust and that open communication. So someone that you can really feel comfortable working with. One of the toughest things I see these days is being the information age, and there's so much noise out there, and I see a lot of players jumping around coach to coach to coach to coach. So it's really important, I think, to find someone that you really trust and then stick with them, because that gives them the best chance to work on things, and development takes time, and there will be ups and downs. So I really encourage you to be loyal with your coach, but also have those clear checkpoints and those clear goals with them, and go through it that way. And for me, the number one quality of a great coach is passion. So if your coach is off to tournaments with your kid, watching them play, you've got a good one. So that's really important for me. There's also a number of school programs out there now that are really a great opportunity to get the tennis volume up, and to do it in a time-effective way. It's hard to fit all the training in and racing around here, there and everywhere, time in traffic. So our School of Excellence programs in Queensland are some of our strongest programs for developing players, because you can get a high volume of training throughout the day in a time-effective way and a cost-effective way as well. So worth being aware of. And then also we do have talent development coaches who are specialists in producing players, and these are the coaches with a proven track record of putting players into nationals and developing players over the journey. At the National Academy, we start with a 12 and under program, and then we work right up through to the pro players like Ash and John Millman. So we have sort of three distinct parts to the academy. I work in talent, which is sort of pre-development. So for girls, it's up to 14, boys it's up to 15. Then we have our National Academy program, which is very much more about those juniors starting to hit that international scene and trying to compete overseas and at an international level. And then our pro program, which is very much on the road. The selection guidelines, it's always very difficult with the National Academy selection, because if we pick purely subjectively, that's fraught with danger. But then also if we have completely objective guidelines, then we hear about points chasing and all that sort of thing to get in, and it's not always about results at a young age. So we're kind of in this really tricky situation. But we do have some guidelines for our selections, and also within the academy we do have different tiers of support. So our tier 1 players at the various ages are reaching international benchmarks, and we've established those benchmarks based on research. So we've looked at the top 100 players, gone back through their junior careers, and averaged their results at the different ages. So that's how we've come up with the international benchmarks for tier 1. Tier 2 is about the players succeeding at a national level. So those guidelines are set consistently across the country, because there are a national academy in each major state. And so those tier 2 guidelines are set nationally. And then with our Tier 3 guidelines, we do try to be as inclusive as possible. So each state, depending on their staffing, depending on their court availability, they also have Tier 3 guidelines for other players who are very much on the fringe there of that national level success. In terms of your program, I think a balanced approach is the most important. So getting a mix of private lessons where you can get a little bit of technical work done, some squads, some fixtures, some independent hitting is critical. You know, the kids don't always need someone there to tell them what to do. I think that free play, that ownership is really important. So some independent hitting and match play would be great, and then also their tournament play. So you want that variety, some adult tennis perhaps, you know, so really good balanced program is what we're after. Finally, you know, the well-being and personal development aspect of tennis. It's for me, it's everything. You know, tennis is such a great sport, and there's so many opportunities out there, being a pro or not. But there's so many life lessons, and I think that's really important to remember. Burnout is very real. It sneaks up on you. Sometimes you think, no, it's all good, but then, you know, I've seen it firsthand that it can really come back to bite you. So I think you need to be aware of that. Sometimes it is good to, you know, keep the kids a little hungry and a little bit wanting, but you know, burnout's very real. We want to focus on effort, enjoyment, and improvement. If you commit to those process goals, that helps you to ride out the wave with the results. The results will always be a little up and down. So, and as I said, learning from your losses is such a critical part of your tennis development. Fostering ownership and independence. Lifelong learners. And then for us at the National Academy, with our wellbeing program, we try to work to 5 key pillars. So the first one is all about connection. So we want our kids to have really strong network away from tennis as well, so that when things aren't going well in tennis, they do have their mates and their life outside of tennis that they can fall back onto. So we do a few different ideas like Mates Day and things like this where we try and keep that support network broad and strong. You know, giving is a really key pillar for us because tennis is a selfish sport, and you know, it's all about me, but we want the kids to be aware of others, and that empathy can really be an important part of developing resilience. So we want resilient kids, and giving and volunteering is a really important part for us. Learning is really important, so again, outside of tennis, different interests, different things to focus on. So when we take the kids away on tours, we're always looking to build in the different learning opportunities on the road. As Lana touched on, mindfulness. So, you know, not worrying about the future, not stressing about the past, just being able to be present and do your best in that moment. And then also just being leading an active lifestyle. And whilst the kids are playing lots of tennis, we want them to be doing other things outside of tennis. So, you know, whether it be in a bushwalk or a bit of surfing, always good to have a balanced lifestyle. So thanks very much, everyone, for your attention, and all the best for the tournaments these next couple of weeks. As I said, I'll be floating around and happy to take anyone.